Hi, and welcome to Toolbox Talks with RES. My name is Craig Fink, and I'm a loss control consultant here at RES. Today's topic is job site protection from violence. We're sharing some information around this topic because what we know is that being proactive and preventative is always much better than being reactive. We want to share, what's the why for this topic, what we know about the construction industry, and based off my experience in construction as a safety professional, is that it's a high stress workplace. We also know there's culture risks, and there's also project-based challenges. All those things can then feed into workplace violence. We also know there's just a lot of variety of what are considered to be workplace violence situations, criminal intent, other areas where we've got frustrated, dissatisfied customers, clients, contractors. We've got coworkers, so worker to worker workplace violence, and then we've got some personal relationship things that can spill into the workplace. So we know there's lots of different things that can be considered workplace violence, but it doesn't have to necessarily always be physical. It can be verbal, it can be intimidation, it can be harassment, it can be physical assaults, it can be brandishing weapons. There's a variety of different things that spill into this. And then there's the one that we hear about most often in social media and other places around active shooters or active threats. So we know if we want to be preventative and proactive, the things that we really need to make sure that we're looking at are recognition of the early warning signs. So things that we might see on the job are going to be things like yelling and confrontations, finger waggling, threats and intimidation. It can be teasing and insults, targeting other people. It can be what we consider to be excessive reactions to setbacks or responses that are above and beyond on what we would expect to be seeing, and also some early warning signs that typically when we see them, we just don't really maybe pay attention is some sudden changes in attitude or conduct. So we also know if once we get past the early warning sign stage, if we have things that are considered to be workplace violence going on, there's a couple of nonverbal things that we can do. So if somebody is coming towards us or on the job site towards others, we want to maintain a safe distance. We want to adapt a what we call an open stance, like the picture up in the upper right of this slide, but then stand at an angle. Be open, don't have our arms crossed, don't have our feet crossed, but don't just square up so you're a large target. Also, we want to make sure that we use calm facial expression. There's some verbal de-escalation techniques as well. So we need to be able to speak slowly, clearly, and calmly. Make sure that we are not only speaking properly, but we're listening well. And we want to be an active listener, ask questions, wait for the answers. We want to make sure that we validate and don't argue with the person. Even if we don't agree with them, we want to make sure that our verbal interactions are not saying things like calm down or no, you're wrong. We want to say things like, I can see you're upset. Let's try to solve this problem. And then we shift to the problem solving and have them be a part of their solution. What we know is sometimes de-escalation is not going to work. So if we try to have some nonverbal and verbal de-escalation tactics going on, and all of a sudden we really feel unsafe, things continue to escalate, know that your safety needs to come first. It should be the number one priority for yourself. And some of the things that we can do around this are making sure we already have a zero tolerance workplace violence policy in place. Not to say we're going to waggle that policy in front of the person, but knowing and educating people before violence even bubbles up that we're not going to accept these kinds of things. If things are not going well, make sure you keep a safe distance. If somebody comes in the job trailer and there's no no way you can get to the door, put a piece of furniture or a chair or something between you and them. If things do escalate and you're not feeling safe and de-escalation is not working, make sure you notify somebody as soon as possible. And supervisor and manager, and really, if it escalates to that point, we really want to be looking at security or law enforcement being contacted as well. We need to touch base on active threat response, active shooters and other active threats. There are a couple of things that we want to make sure that we remind people of. Your goal needs to be to, for your own personal safety, start with running or escaping. And then if that doesn't work, make sure that you hide if the escape is not possible. And we only want to have fighting as our last resort if we can't run, escape, or hide. So to quickly summarize, we want to make sure for workplace violence and construction that we're proactive and preventative, not just reacting. Construction is a high-risk industry, and those high risks can cause and stir up some workplace violence. We need to be able to identify, respond, and report warning signs early. And some of that, once we notice the warning signs, we want to try to de-escalate with some verbal and nonverbal actions. Make sure that you remember that your safety comes first. If you're feeling unsafe, walk away and then notify. And then run, hide, fight is the best active threat response method if we've got active threats or active shooters in the workplace. We've got some resources available for some workplace violence definition, de-escalation, some OSHA resources, and then women in construction resources around workplace violence. Thank you very much. Stay informed, stay safe, and there will be more Toolbox talks to come.